All right, we are live. What is up, y'all? This is Austin Pegram here with the Fitness That Fits You podcast. I am your host, again, Austin Pegram. Just wanted to come to you today with another message, of course, to be good to yourself. Please, every single day, self-care is very important. I have with me a friend, dear friend of ours, and her name is, well, I'll let her kind of introduce herself, but she's a good friend, and she's got some really cool info to talk about today. So you want to go ahead and tell the peeps who you are?
Hi, yes. I'm Brittany Cook. I live in Louisville and I work with the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights and also have a background in mental health. So, Austin works with Fitness That Fits You, but he also is very specific on making sure that health and wellness is holistic and wrapped around. So we're going to talk about how we can do that.
Nice. Yeah. So, and I realized, I don't know if I didn't make a note about this in the itinerary that I sent you, but so if you all have listened to my previous podcast with Melissa Rift, a unique gym experience with Melissa Rift, go back and check that out. This is this is Melissa's, Brittany, of course. This is Melissa's fiance. They're partners. And so, what is the date again that you all are getting married?
May 15th, 2021.
Yeah, next year. Let's go. So we're all very excited about that. I believe Becca. Wait, do you know about? I'm sorry, y'all. Becca's also in the home. She has a very important role in the wedding. So that's going to be a really cool, really fun, really awesome thing to be a part of. At any rate, okay, we'll get it going here. So Brittany, I just kind of wanted to have you on today. Anytime I've had any conversation with you, you are of course very intellectual and you've got a ton of information and a ton of perspective. And given your background, I wanted to touch on a few things. Just some things going on this year in general, the pandemic, the election, and if there are any specifics that you can discuss about what you do for work, then we will touch on those if you can. Just based on the information you've given me thus far, it sounds like a pretty cool thing. So again, what's your specific education though?
Yeah, so I have it's a really long actually degree.
That's fine.
It's
Tell us.
it's a master's of education in counseling, psychology, and personnel services with specification in art therapy. So essentially, at this point, I am a licensed professional counselor in Kentucky, but I'm also a licensed professional art therapist.
Oh, wait. So what is professional art therapist? What is that? What does that mean?
So we use art in art therapy. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. Expressive therapies is also what it's called in some other states. So art can be, media with like paint and crayons or Play-Doh, or it can be poetry, it can be dance, it can be sensory stimulation. So we really just use like a lot of different tools to help bring people's true selves out.
Whoa. Okay. That's pretty intense. That almost feels like I've been like really listening to a ton of like Tony Robbins lately. And
Okay.
yeah, it's like a lot of like unleash the power within, type of.
Yeah,
That's kind of
absolutely.
what it feels like. That's intense. That's intense. That's
Tony
intense.
Robbins is intense. I've got lots of extra highlighted copies of his works if you want any.
Oh yeah, really? Okay, we'll have to
Yeah,
touch
I
on
just
that.
like those little liners. Like, well, I can't say one liners with him. It's more of like just these full, paragraphs where you're like, whoa, wait, hold on. Where is
Yeah,
my brain going right now?
mind blowing type stuff. So I've actually got a post coming out about it like tomorrow, but um so it's the specific book that I'm listening to right now because I still struggle to like sit down and actually like read books. There's just something about sitting down and reading books that makes me think bedtime. And so like, if I'm going to do
not a
that,
bad time to do it.
yeah, I mean, it's not a bad time to do it. My issue is if I want to like get into a physical copy of a book, that I'm going to want to read it. And I know that as soon as I start reading it, it's going to calm me down, because that's what I need in my life. And then I'm going to go to sleep and I won't read the book. So, but it's an audio book, and it's actually called Unleash the Power Within. And I recently, like, I got on it because I first listened to Kevin Hart's new book, The Decision. It's an audio book also.
I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, and he talked about Tony Robbins in the book, and I've seen a couple of like documentaries and what do you call it, sessions or conferences that Tony Robbins had also held too. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna listen to it. And thus far, it's some pretty intense stuff, like some life-changing stuff happening within me. So
I like it.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that. Okay, cool. So that actually makes you like a pretty, like, the perfect candidate to kind of talk about some things here. Really just wanted to like start off sharing some experiences, you know, or rather how the pandemic, for an example, since that's like number one on everyone's radar right now, how that's like affected you personally. And of course, this is a fitness podcast, if you will. So at some point we're going to be getting to fitness, and you're a very active person, so it'll get there. So feel free to talk about how it's affected your fit life also.
Yeah. So the pandemic, you know, at first I said, this isn't that bad. I can handle this type of thing. It really was just rerouting what I typically do. So going into fitness, you know, I had been working at a gym here locally, actually the gym that Melissa and I had met at. And I really enjoyed working there. And when we switched everything to Zoom, there wasn't really a role for me anymore, because I was just an assistant coach. I wasn't running any of the classes myself. I was just helping people through their movements and making sure that they were the most effective forms. So when we switched to Zoom, it just kind of threw that out the window. And we did over time kind of transition from Zoom back to outdoor classes. So we would have a minimum or a maximum of just like 6 people, where we were used to 12 or 15. And we'd work outside. You know, it gets really muggy in Kentucky. And so I was like dying through some of them. And we do so much natural movement. So we're like crawling and rolling all around the ground and doing all this. So, but my options were hot pavement or grass, which I'm allergic to. And so I was really struggling with it. And actually over time, I've fallen completely off of my fitness routine, which has been pretty difficult. And I'm sure it's affecting my overall health as much as it's affecting my physical and mental health, because I got a lot of social interaction out of it that I needed also. Okay. And so that's been pretty rough for me, actually. And once I was diagnosed with COVID, which I recently just kind of got past that contagious phase. So I'm not necessarily in isolation anymore, but I definitely have symptoms. Right. And it's kind of that back and forth sometimes where I'm like, well, man, you know, maybe if I would have like kept up my workout routine, I wouldn't have felt as sick. But now, like, still having symptoms, sometimes just going on a walk is difficult at this point. Like, I'm not even able to go quite as far as I want to. You know, I would easily on a nice afternoon walk to your all's house, right? Like, you guys live about 2 miles away. That's not that, you know, big of a deal for me. And this earlier today, I just kept thinking, man, I really want to go walk to their house. I just want to go like way through the window. But I would not have made it. I made it about half that far, and had to wrap around. So it's kind of awful. It's terrible. And it's causing some some further imbalance mentally. I definitely kind of wanted to isolate more at times because I get so upset about it, but then that doesn't help me either. So trying to like daily fight those battles.
Yeah, that's that's, and it's, so I personally, and you know this, we just got done talking to Becca about it, but so between the two of us, I think, the shortness of breath, or the kind of like the muscle aches, just being tired, I want to say that maybe lasted for like, a few days. We were able to kind of get back to it pretty soon. And I'm saying we because I'm assuming that I had it when she had it, but I don't know for sure because my testing hasn't come back yet. But I mean, I kind of understand what you mean though, because I actually just, not too recently went out on a run, and my legs were like, they felt really heavy, really sore. And then I tried to do it again the next day, and the run felt good, but I thought, all right, let me go ahead and pick up some weights. And I got through one set of everything, and it was like, whoa, my muscle fire.
Yeah.
I was feeling it. And it's so crazy. I mean, you lose strength pretty easily anyway, but to think that this barbell that I had picked up, I mean, it was probably like, maybe, I don't know, 95 pounds on there. This barbell that I picked up normally with no problem felt really heavy, and it was like kind of crazy. But yeah, it definitely has an impact on you, but obviously it impacts others a little bit more, which is nuts. Because I mean, you're pretty like fit. Like, I mean, they can't see your entire being, but like you're pretty fit.
Still.
You're pretty fit and healthy. So like the fact that it kind of like kept with you as long as it did, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, like we eat mostly like natural whole foods. We're very specific, even down to the types of spices that we use a lot of times. So even when we eat things like chicken nuggets, which we'll do about once a week, Melissa's making it from scratch. So we really do a lot to try to maintain our bodies. But mine got hit pretty hard. I mean, it got difficult for me to even open the cap of the toothpaste at one point. Yeah. And we're talking about somebody that used to do like monkey bars multiple times a week, so it's just wild how quickly you can lose that strength, and now I gotta see how quickly I can get it back.
Yeah. Now when you say chicken nuggets like from scratch, like did y'all like raise the chicken and all that stuff too?
Our yard's not big enough for that. Nor would our dogs probably let a chicken live in the yard.
No, that was corny. That was corny. Yeah, so like, in terms of, definitely like obviously like just getting the virus itself has probably had a big impact on, well, I mean, we've seen the numbers, millions, but like, I'll be honest with you, I don't think it was until you actually got sick to where it actually, for me personally, affected like people in our inner circle. Like we hadn't know anybody that had gotten it yet. And so, maybe a friend that knew a friend that knew a friend, but not like a friend. So, that was pretty crazy. I'd say that's like the number one thing that I've seen just since it started in March or I guess it was February. Is that now it's like every day something's popping up. I've had clients that are like, I've got it now. And they haven't been back for about a week or two because of it. You know what I mean? So like, it's just now it's everywhere, but amongst COVID itself, definitely, and fitness, of course, definitely the pandemic, I think like it's like driven us away from like each other, and I don't know, it feels kind of weird. I don't know. It's at this point, it's like everybody, I think a lot of people are just like tired of it, like when can we be around each other again?
Yes. And then that constant anxiety when you are trying to be around people, even when you're doing it in the ways that they say is safe.
It's like eggshells everywhere,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. So I personally, I can tell you in terms of my mental space, the only way that I've been able to, I guess, kind of like navigate it all is to just like keep busy, that's been the big thing in the beginning. It was kind of hard because Becca had just had the baby and
Mm-hmm.
was stuck at home and didn't have any help with the baby. And that obviously made it a lot tougher once we found ways to actually like get in contact with people and have people help out and actually be around people. It started to get a little easier, but there were still restrictions. There's still been restrictions. And so
Right.
honestly, the only way I've been able to kind of keep things like afloat, just like mentally, is being able to come home and see the baby, of course, and then like just exercising, like fitness, like exercising. Um, but just based on like the education that you have, or like just your expertise, like I am just curious. Like I would love to know, and I don't even know how to like phrase this question, but just like the ins and outs, of the like mental capacity here. Like they've got a lot of like, there's a lot of people around the world. The suicide rate is going up.
Mhm.
You got people that are just like, I'm not, I'm going to go out and not wear masks and do whatever the hell I want to do. And then you got people that are frightened and they're at home, and you got mothers who have to be at home. I don't know. It's a lot to like break down. So I'm assuming like you kind of have like that psychology, like you get what I'm trying to say, like know-how to be able to just like pinpoint and break shit down, right?
Well,
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah, yeah. So the mental health world is wild right now because this was not expected. And so everybody just, like other companies had to kind of flip the script and fill out another way to do things. So we're not person to person. And that also comes down to insurance, which is a whole other ballgame. But essentially, a lot more people have needed services. So I just got off the phone with a private practice that is seeking out new clinicians to come join their team because they have an 80-person wait list. This is already a 20-person practice, which is fairly large. Most practices are like 3 to 6 people.
Yeah.
And they have 20 practitioners. They also have psychologists on staff and an 80-person wait list. So it's just mind-blowing how much more help people are needing right now. And the really difficult thing too is finding services for children and teenagers. So that's the thing. Apparently they have a really long wait list for children and teenagers too. And it's already difficult to find practitioners for them in general. And then you add on the fact that we're doing it through telehealth. So you almost always have to have like a parent or someone with them during that time to assist them, especially for something like art therapy, because you got to have supplies and you got to have safety, right? So it just keeps making things harder on others. And they're already working through what is essentially trauma in this entire situation anyways. Like you said, walking on eggshells, you can only walk on eggshells so long before it starts being traumatic. So at this point, everybody that is doing the pandemic the right way, and by right way I mean being safe, right? Like we're all traumatized from this. And we're like, what, 8 months traumatized by this at this point. So the after effects are actually a little more unnerving for me. Like, what is this going to look like down the road when we do get back to some kind of quote unquote normal? Because nobody's normal is going to be the same.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, it's almost like too much to think about, really. Because I mean, you got people that have lost their homes, They're out on the street. What are they going to be doing when things get back to normal? You know, I mean, I don't even, I don't know. It's hard. And then, of course, with this vaccine, like not everybody's going to get that vaccine.
Right.
I mean, I'm thinking a vast majority will, but not everybody's going to get that vaccine. And so like, that's going to change people, you know, so I don't, you're right though. I don't know. It's all a lot. With that being said, speaking of vaccine and post-pandemic, I wanted to ask you a question about the current, or I guess it's not current anymore, like the most recent like election and stuff. And just kind of like
it's still current. We're in courts. There's not been a concession, so technically.
wait. I thought. See, okay. So, all right. See, this is good. I'm glad we're going to talk about this because you're usually definitely a lot more knowledgeable than I am, involved, aware. But okay. So I think all the way up until what was it like last week, like the 20th or something like that, I think is when they had for all like the court dates and the filings and all that stuff. And so after that, they didn't have it in play. Then he had to concede, you know, office, right? The transition had to start, right? Has that not been, I thought the transition.
So there have been some articles out that they are starting to work on the transition, but he still has not officially conceded. He being our current president Donald Trump.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that's true. You're right. I have not seen anything of him coming out and saying I can see the president.
So he has, as of earlier today, which the date today is the November 27th. So as of earlier today, he did state that he would leave office, but still hasn't announced a concession. So it's a little I don't know. It's like anything that's ambiguous. You're kind of like, okay, well, what happens? And what do we expect? So how do we do this? Like,
very, very different. So how, you know, while we're talking about how things have impacted us, you know, how has, you know, I don't want to get into the entirety of the last 4 years, but just this year in general. Obviously, the pandemic has played a huge role in politics this year, but you know, in terms of the election in general, like how has this impacted you? I'm very much looking forward to this conversation because I've got some less informational opinions to share on the matter. But yeah, I'd love to talk to somebody smarter than me on it. Yeah, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, this has been a pretty impactful election. A lot of people have put a lot of emphasis on the president, but you know, when it came down to it, some of the things that had been put in place would not have been as impactful if it wasn't for the folks that are in Congress today. And so I've been trying to watch that piece a bit more. Okay. Because really, you know, our legislators are the ones that are out there making our laws, passing our laws, working with the lobbyists, which AKA means folks with the money, right? So those are the ones that are actually making the majority of the decisions. And nothing really gets to the point where we're approving laws and passing them to the president unless the House and the Senate are handing them over and approving them first. So I think, you know, we talk so often about these changes and these shifts and how do we do something different. And a lot of it comes down to those local and state elections that majority of people still don't show up for. You know, a lot of folks come out for the general presidential elections and they mark their box for that and they think that they're doing the work, and we need them to know who their local and state legislatures are and talk to them. You know, you can call them, you can email them. It's really not that difficult to come into contact and share your voice. and also vote for them when it comes around and know who you're voting for. Many people still will go to the polls and not even know who all is on the ballot for them in their area, or they'll think they know because they see the signs up, but like we all have different districts. So we're not all voting on the same people. And so to me, it comes down to that a lot more. We come from a state where one of our 2 senators is the House leader, right? So we want to make sure that we're using our voices and our vote to make that the most impactful possible.
Yeah. You know, I'll say to you too, I resonate with that because I am guilty. I am guilty of that. I because of my work, I get very, very into my phone at times. And, you know, you've seen that movie, or documentary, The Social Dilemma on Netflix. Have you seen it?
I haven't yet. You're the second person in like 3 weeks that's been like, why haven't you watched this yet?
Yeah. So basically that show, and I was like, I'm never like just like watching a movie like just zoned out. I'm usually like doing something while I'm watching the movie. Same. So like, you know, when I was watching the documentary, I was getting bits and pieces of it. And essentially, you know, they have these, you know, it's all automated, it's all robotic, you know, artificial intelligence, and they're all like just feeding us the information they think that, you know, we like want, you know, that our biology like wants. And when I think about that, I'm like, well, shit. Like, I mean, that means half the shit that I'm looking. And luckily, I only follow like fitness stuff, right? And so, like, the only thing, in my opinion, that it's really doing for me is just sending me too many fitness females that on my Instagram I'm seeing naked women all the damn time, or I mean, literally, I gotta find a way to like fix the.
I need you to follow. I think it's SFM Fitness. She literally works out in a hijab. It's beautiful. I love it. She's so strong. Her videos blow my mind all the time, but it's like also a far cry from what you typically see, which, like you said, like these like half naked bodies, like, oh, I'm working out in this crop top.
Man, that's all that shows up. But I mean, and on Facebook, it's a little different. I think the videos are not quite, I mean, it's not just a bunch of pictures and stuff. It's, you know, the videos are usually about something specific that I like, a group or something that I follow. So for me personally, I think I'm not really experiencing that too much. However, when it comes to politics, it very much knows that I steer a little bit more toward the Democratic point of view, because everything that I see Republican is negative. And everything that I see in the way of Democratic is something positive, you know? And so like, you know, and so you get like, you know, it's registered with me now that you're Democrats or you're nice guys and you're Republicans or you're bad guys. You know what I mean? And I know that's silly.
What's funny is the flip side of the coin. You know, you have Republicans out there that are seeing the complete opposite perspective because of their algorithms.
Exactly.
I do have to correct myself too. I said we have a House leader, we have a Senate leader in Kentucky. So
good memory. But yeah, no, exactly. You're right. So it's like, just imagine if like all of the people that are viewing this, if they're not taking the time to look at things on the back end, this is all they see. And so don't get me wrong, like you can look at people and watch people, and you know, when you perceive them, like you'll get, you know, you gain a point of view on that person. Like when I watch Donald Trump, like I'm like, man, that guy's an asshole. You know, when I watch Joe Biden, I'm like, you know, his mannerisms, like he's a well-mannered guy. He's not an asshole. You know, he seems to care. You know, so like I like him better. But you know, like, you know, we're getting fed that. And so, you know, I'm guilty in that aspect too. Like I haven't taken the time to go and look at the more, you know, behind the scenes, the people doing the real work, and figure out who to vote for there, because I'm so distracted by the shit that's going on in mainstream media. Like, and it ends up like ruling your head. And so now all these people, I think, that are out just like on the streets for their people, your MAGA march and your I don't know if there are any, radical democratic marches or anything like that. But at any
They
rate,
say Black Lives Matter is, right? So
yeah, I mean, but like it's like none of them really know what's going on. I feel like
Antifa, yeah.
night, baby girl. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Hold on, real quick for those that are listening, you won't see the cuteness, but for those that are watching, you will see the cuteness.
Oh,
love you, sweetie.
Good night, baby Rosie.
Authenticity. So have you found yourself kind of like just getting like swallowed up? That's one thing that's really been swallowing me up, is that you're stuck at home for the pandemic, and then you're stuck seeing that shit, and it's also negative.
So, and this is probably also because we haven't been able to be around each other, but you'll hear Melissa nudge at me often. My phone is on lockdown. Like, I don't use GPS. My location services are never on. There are certain settings that you can have to where your social media apps are not able to connect to each other, and they're also not able to connect to anything else that you're on. So like, if I'm seeing something like an ad or something like that, it's very specifically because I've looked it up through that specific app. Because like it's essentially what you just said, we are fed things through our phones, and our phones will essentially try to read us as much as we think we're reading it. So anything that we're clicking on or doing, not only do most of your apps that you're doing that on have that information, but we're always clicking that agree button, right? We're always just agreeing to do whatever it asks us to do so we can get to do whatever we want to do on it. And instead of actually reading through that, making sure that you're not fully connected, because there's no need for that, right? For the most part. You kind of have to really be mindful of your settings on there so that you can control what it is that you're seeing and what it is that you're reading. Yeah. An example of that too, though, like a lot of people, and I see you do it often, right? Like a lot of people love doing Instagram stories, or what is it, Snapchat. A lot of people have Snapchat. And so I post Instagram stories very often as well. But if you notice, every time I post an Instagram story, it's only a repost from somebody else, because otherwise I have to have Instagram has to be granted access to my camera and my microphone in order for me to post my own original story. And I'm not here for it. Like, because if you have access to my camera and my microphone, and this is not some like absurd, the government's after me, whatever. I don't feel all of that, but I have been in far too many conversations with people where we're talking about something and then I see an ad for it on my phone. So at this point, I'm on lockdown. Like, you don't get that access anymore. Because obviously something is listening. And I do truly believe that. And I don't think it has to take a conspiracy theorist type of thing. I don't know that they're doing anything more than just trying to know what it is that I want from the phone. But I don't want you to know that unless I'm writing it in and feeding that information to you.
Well, it definitely feels weird. It almost feels like, while we experience freedom, it almost feels like we're like we're like trapped, you know what I mean? Because like there's always some sort of recording or always some sort of eye on you. And it's like, what is, it obviously, that's a really deep way, like you can really go, there are too many things that we have to do on a day-to-day to put that much time into really thinking about how deep that goes. But I mean, when you just even think about the surface of it, like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this year, LMPD, so Louisville Metro Police Department, put a camera on our street. It's in front of my house. So I now never open the curtains to our bedroom window because the camera is right there. And no one ever asked if they could put a camera outside my house. So, like, to think about that to me is just absurd. And then, everybody's putting these rings on their door now. So we're constantly like, I can't walk down the street probably without really having a map of where I'm going because people's rings are recording me as I'm walking down the street. So, like, we're always being watched. Like, we don't have privacy anymore.
What are these rings you're talking about? Rings?
They're like doorbells with cameras on them.
Man, I like obviously like with us being like in the generation that we are, like I think we just have a ton of access to things. But I was listening to Dave Chappelle not too long ago. Well, I watched his specials like on repeat at least 2 or 3 times. So he mentioned like this being the age of spin, that we don't really know what we like or what we want because we can have and we could do everything. But in his time, you didn't know who was calling when you had to pick up the phone. You didn't know the door unless you answered the door, like all that shit. And sometimes I want to go back to that, but at the same way, it's like, we're so privileged and having so many things at our fingertips, but and the funny thing is I want to do it the way you're doing it. I want to be like, man, I'm done with that, but I can't. I like have to be present, which it's like it's a thing. I don't know.
No, I mean, I hear you. Like I know that the way that I look at things is not really the same way that most people look at it. And then also some people just don't care, and that's fine. I just prefer to live a more private life and like choose who I want to have access to me and myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's one way of it, and I know people that are on, extremes on both sides. So I try to think I'm just like leaning a little bit on one side.
You're just a little bit more evolved than the rest of us. I'm not saying that sarcastically. I
don't know how to call it that.
Well, cool. So I want to ask you a pretty straightforward question and then tell you why. So how do you feel about, and this can be very, very short, it doesn't need to be long-winded because it is a toughy subject, but how do you feel about, how do you actually feel about Mr. Donald Trump? Now, when I ask that, it's because, so I have this thing where I don't really think Donald Trump is like a racist. I don't think he's like, just this asshole that everybody makes him out to be. I think that he is just like a kind of an idiot. And like, he just like kind of says things and just, he like desperately wants to be liked. And so like, this is just me observing his behavior on camera. He just like wants to be liked. And so he says shit and it's just like, I'm going to say whatever so that people like what I'm saying. And you see that a lot in life. And I really do think in people, and I really do think that kind of goes back to probably more with his like parents and stuff. But I personally don't think he's necessarily a racist. I think that every politician in his place has probably, done more for Black people or for colored people when when money's involved, not just like for your everyday person of color. So, I think that that's like an all of them thing. But, there is something to say about the people that like support him so intensely. What I've seen is that there's typically some sort of, in my opinion, like radical conservative, view that they have. It's never about just being a Republican. It's always about, I don't believe in gay rights, or I I don't denounce, the white supremacists, the Proud Boys, and all those people out at the fact that those people come together, Confederate flags and all that stuff, like that to me speaks, it's like, why is it that all of these people, cater to you? You're speaking to them, but I don't know. I'm conflicted with it because I personally don't think that he is a racist. Except for when he said he was the least racist person in the room. That was funny because I was like, bro, if you were gonna try to convince people, don't say dumb shit like that. Don't say dumb shit like that. But I don't know. I'm a little conflicted with this guy. And hopefully we don't really have to deal with it anymore. But I've had friends that I didn't know that they like felt that way because of I didn't know that they supported him as intensely as they did. And I didn't think they would, just because of, like I said, the people typically that come out by the mass to support him, they're typically people that don't really like me. So when I have close friends that are like that, it's like, whoa, it kind of throws me off a little bit. But I don't know. I'm a little conflicted with the guy, to be perfectly honest. I don't hate him as much as other people do, but I don't really know what to think. There's something to say about that. I don't know. So I'm curious. I'm just curious.
No, I mean, so I don't know that I'll blatantly say one thing or another in terms of how I feel about him, but I will have that discussion with you, of course. In terms of you saying, as a Black man too, that you don't really necessarily feel like he's racist, I've heard that from several Black men. Okay. I think that one of the things that you got to look at is underlying context. So he hasn't gone out and specifically tried to do anything to, very specifically anyways, harm Black people, right? We know a lot of laws and policies do that on their own accord because they're usually written by white men without context. However, that same debate that you're talking about where Donald Trump said he was the least racist person in the room, right? Or president that ever existed, or whatever that quote was. That same debate, he had not yet had any point in time where he would speak about Black people without speaking about crime. So contextually, you're always relating Black people to crime, which is racist. However, you can also look at the other side of that, because not once does Joe Biden ever call him out. So we're constantly in this back and forth. We were talking a little bit earlier about how you see all this like Democrats good, Republicans bad type of stuff because of what your media is feeding you, like your media, right? What's on your phone and how your algorithms are set up. But you can always go and like look at the other side. So part of that can be, I might regret saying this, but like going down some interesting paths, and like, even if you support Joe Biden because you don't support Donald Trump, or support Joe Biden because you think he's a better person or whatever reason, that doesn't mean he's the end all be all for being a good person either. Because there's things out there that show that we might need to be questioning that too. Like there's #creepy Joe videos. They're really creepy and concerning. And so it comes down to, politicians in general, people in general. We have histories, right? We have patterns of behaviors. We have things that we do. And it's really difficult to find just good people sometimes. And it's really difficult to find folks that don't have this like messy history, and especially when they come from a position of power, because people in positions of power often in general will feel untouchable, and so they think that they can get away with things more than what other people can that would not typically be accepted by society. And sometimes they do. We're seeing that now. We're seeing a lot of people get away with stuff that 4 years ago would not have been accepted. And instead of just getting away with it too, they're now getting on the news for it and getting accolades for it and going to dinners and speaking on it. So, you know, like I said, I'm not going to fully like express my opinion on Donald Trump, but there are a lot of opinions on a lot of people out there, no matter what side of the political spectrum you stand on. And we need to be able to look at full pictures of who is out there representing us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know. I love that. I mean, like I said, I was at odds. So like receiving that information is great. Like, you know, at the end of the day, because I'm sure there will be plenty, you know, that's the thing about it, is like there's probably, as far as I know, I probably spend time with people that are avid Donald Trump supporters and I don't even know it, you know. And there may be people listening that are avid Donald Trump supporters and I don't even know it. And if so what? You know, I don't care, as long as like there's this mutual respect amongst us, and you know, you feel the same way I do about people in general, and you love all people, you know, no matter their sexuality or their race or their, you know, if that's who you are, then me and you can, you know, we can hang, you know. I think it's just when you see that somebody is, you know, constantly bringing on a people who do not feel like they don't love all people, that's what like throws me off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, and that's why like I'll see, when I see people that do it, and it doesn't have to be Trump. I mean, it can be anybody. You know, if I see people that are really, you know, strong supporters of negative individuals like that, I think to myself, well, are they really supporters of that person? Because they respect me and support me, and you know, so I don't know if they actually are. You know, maybe they just like are just, you know, maybe they're just a part of that party or a part of that group, or they stand for the same religion, or who knows, you know what I mean? But
well, and I think some of it comes down to, you know, what that person's stance is. Like, what is your priority and what is most important to you? So if you look at the stats of Republicans right now, and what they will consistently say they vote for Donald Trump on is economy and abortion rights. Well, or lack of abortion rights, I should say. And so, you know, one of the things for me that I struggle with in terms of looking at those two pieces is they're conflicting, because you say like, okay, economy, I'm one of those like people who right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, money over people, right? Like, is this where we're going? But then it's like, oh, okay, anti-abortion. So like you care for people and humans, and so you want everybody to exist. But then it's like, okay, well, what about social services for the people that need it, such as usually children that come from families or homes or situations where someone had conflicting ideas on whether or not they should have had an abortion.
Okay.
But if you're not supporting social services, are you supporting people? And it's just like a lot of back and forth, and where, you know, where certain folks stand. I totally appreciate you saying like, yeah, you know, it doesn't matter who you vote for. Like, I love people, and like, as long as you're respectful. I used to have that same outlook in a lot of ways. I've turned that outlook around lately. Like, I'm a little bit more harsh about it, because to me, it's not just about respect day to day. Like I said, it comes down to looking at who you are voting for. And to me, who you're voting for isn't necessarily about who the person is. It's about what the stance is and what you're valuing. And if you and I don't have the same values, then I don't really know that I want to spend that much time with you. So like, I've lost some family and friends lately, but that's my choice. And I totally feel fine with folks that also don't want to like draw that hard line. It took me a long time. I've been working toward that. I don't know, leaning toward that, growing into that for going on about 7 years now. So it's not like it was flip a switch. Oh, I know who you voted for, I don't want anything to do with you. It was like, Oh, this is where I'm going on my path of growth and learning and expectations and boundaries. And so you're over here. And we're definitely not on the same trail anymore. And maybe I'll see you later. Maybe not. But it was nice to see you for a while.
Yeah. That's totally fine, right? I mean, I mean, I've got friends. Well, I've had friends that, excuse me, or I mean, I had friends back in high school, middle school, that you just, you're not friends with anymore. Like that's just that's just what happens, even family, there's certain family you don't talk to as much, it just kind of, it happens that way. So those things are inevitable anyway. It does, it sucks a little bit more when it has to be on such I guess a damaging topic, but I wish it could all be peace and love, but it's sad that it can be. It will be. I do think that the babies being born in this pandemic, I think they're gonna come out. I think they're gonna
they're gonna be the strongest of them.
Hey, I really, because like Rosie, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think this generation also is gonna be very, very spoiled. And I say that, this is coming from an only child raised in the home of a single mom. So, when I say spoiled, I know what I'm talking about. And I really do think that this generation is going to be a little bit more spoiled than the other ones, because they are born in this time where you can't really be around a bunch, you can't really do a bunch. So the parents, namely the mother, is having to be just like in that baby's face at all times. And granted, that baby's going to feel loved as shit.
Yeah.
On the same hand, it's like that baby, is, it might take them a little bit longer to want to be let go, So I think that they'll have an opportunity. I think it'll go one or two ways. You have babies that are being born in this pandemic, that are being born to families that may be considered, evil, if you will, or, conflicting ideologies with the rest of the, the majority of the community, right? Outlier, ideologies. And so they'll be in around that all the time. And so they won't really have an opportunity to be educated by other communities and other environments. And so they might come out even more racist than the generation before them. But then you'll have that other generation that is like, you know what, man, love, because I didn't have to be born in this time. My parents could have been taken away. They'll have a different appreciation of things. And so we'll have a different appreciation of people. I've been thinking about this hard. I really have.
No, it'll be, I don't even know, would Rosie be Gen Z, or is that a whole other generation?
I don't know. Wait, I don't know. Gen Z's going.
She might be a whole other generation that might not even be named yet. But Gen Z's, they are wild. They are just strong-headed and stubborn, but amazing. Their growth perspectives, and I'm talking for middle schoolers, are where I was in my 20s. And I'm like, where did you come from, and what is life going to be like when y'all are adults? Or older adults anyways. I don't know if I'm scared or excited. I can't even tell you. And so then to think about Rosie's generation is a whole other story, because they're coming out of what is essentially going to be rubble, right? We got Phoenix rising before they even have to die.
I know, right? The world over as they're being born. That's crazy. Okay, cool beans, man. This is why you all, I wanted to bring Britt on, because I knew that there would be some pretty cool conversation. And so thus far, this has not disappointed. So Brittany, I want you real fast before we go, talk about your podcast. You've got a podcast. Is it linked with the work that you do?
So for right now it is. We started out having this podcast. It's called We and You, with Forward Radio. But we also put it on Apple Music and Spotify, and I think another one I'm forgetting right now because I don't do that side of things. But it's myself and my co-host Terrence Sullivan, and we support Kentucky Commission on Human Rights. So it's nonpartisan, sorry, not bipartisan, radio show. And essentially we discuss that. We discuss human and civil rights issues, just mostly in a way that opens up perspective, not so much in a way that identifies like this is right and this is wrong, because that's not how life works. And we try to have guests on fairly often. We did not do a show for the week of Thanksgiving, but hopefully we'll be back next week. And it's been fun. We hadn't really, we're working on a group. We are conversationalists at heart. So we can get on there and just start talking. And every now and then I'm like, oh, we're going through a rabbit hole. But that's how we like it. We're super unscripted. So if you like that kind of thing, check us out. Again, it's We and You. That's We ampersand sign YOU. So
nice. Very nice, you all. Definitely go and check that out, please. Okay. And of course, if you are looking for any coaching, if you will, strength training, weight loss, et cetera, you know who to contact. Fitness That Fits You. I will have my contact information, both email and phone number, in the link to my coaching application. Serious applicants only, please. I want you to want to make a change in life. It must be a must. Okay. If you are looking for supplements, if you're a lover of all things pre-workout, post-workout, proteins, female hormones, BCAAs, et cetera, going down to SubHub, Louisville, Kentucky. That's on Westport Road. Tell them Austin Pegram with Fitness That Fits You sent you. You can get up to 20% off on your supplements. And then Brittany, this one you might actually be interested in this one, but April of next year, 2021, we are hosting Fitness That Fits You and HC Events. Holly Cropper, she's a client of mine. We're hosting a women's wellness retreat.
nice.
That was actually supposed to go on this year, but of course, pandemic. Yeah. So that'll be going on in April 24th and the 25th. We will have a variety of vendors there, just providing, value, nutrition, information, education. It is an overnight thing, pending, of course, how things are at that time. But we will most likely just kind of limit the amount of people that are able to stay overnight, considering we'll kind of look at the situation. And I'm saying this without, certainty, because we haven't had our absolute discussion yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do, all the information will be there. Okay. So be looking out for that information too. I am going to put the link to the Facebook event page for this particular event so that you can check that out. All right, y'all, just a daily reminder to be good to yourself. Brittany, thanks again for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I hope you get rid of that cough here soon. Is that the only?
I've still had some headache and body pain, but definitely not to the extent that it was before.
Okay. All right. Well, here's hoping those symptoms kind of go away. I got lucky. My symptoms are like almost gone. And you can hear my voice a little bit, still a little laggy, but that's about it. But okay. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your day or night or whenever you're listening to this, and be good to yourself, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.